like to welcome you this afternoon to another episode of Web3 Masterminds hosted by Cryptopolitan and Forward Protocol. And today we've got a very special guest, Wahid Chammas from Faith Tribe. Welcome, Wahid.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Sorry for the background. I'm in a car.
No, that's good. A man with a mission, man on the move. Looks great. Exactly. Really nice to chat to you this afternoon.
Thank you.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple of minutes and introducing yourself and your team and telling us a little bit about Faith Tribe.
Yeah. So I'm in the private equity business, and we own many different companies, around 37 companies, but a third of them are in fashion and fashion tech. Actually, so many of the companies that we are shareholders in, I brought to bear in the ecosystem that we're building now with Faith Tribe. And Faith Connection is a 21-year-old company. It is, has been in the business of fashion for a while, has fostered amazing relationships with factories and production houses, developers, e-commerce businesses, and really what made us special. And if you ask me about the DNA of the team, what made us special from the beginning was that we kind of pioneered open source fashion. And open source fashion, what that means is basically from the start, we've always allowed independent designers and fashion artists to collaborate with us, contribute to the designs that we make. Nearly 50% of what we create is created by independent designers. That's in contrast to say Gucci, Chanel, whatever, that are very exclusive. We've always been very inclusive. Now, we've been doing this for a long time, but it wasn't really until May of last year where we found ourselves at the right place at the right time. Because that's when a bunch of crypto luminaries said, wow, what you have here is so neat. It was right when NFTs started to take off and, digital art and the whole concept of customization and individualization. And that's when they said, you ought to tokenize your open source ecosystem. So the tribe was always what we named our community, literally for 2 decades. So then we called the new company Faith Tribe.
Okay, that's magic, eh? What an interesting story, eh?
Thank you.
Really cool. We've also got Mr. Key from Forward Protocol here. And Key, why don't you come and say hello and tell us a little bit about Forward and how you fit into the project?
Sure thing, sure. So Forward Protocol is all about a Web3 platform where people can drag, drop, and deploy their applications on a no-code interface. The end goal is to make things simple and for people to bring their ideas from the real world onto the blockchain, and doing it so seamlessly, so easily that they don't have to go through the challenges that people before them have gone through. So that's pretty much where Forward comes from. And one of the most important things that we all believe in is that everything around the world, especially in the creators economy, is about tribe. And that's something that excites me because people think people think, function, act in as a tribe. I mean, they function efficiently when they are with the people who believe in what they believe in and can progress in the direction that makes most sense to them, when that inspires them. So I have actually also seen some amazing videos that members in the Faith Tribe has created, and that has been very inspiring in the past. Something that I really enjoyed because there was truth to it. There was, I don't know how to define it. It was original. It was original.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. The reason why we were so excited to work with Forward Protocol and other great partners and VCs and Karnika specifically. So we're just people from the traditional world. And what's phenomenal about the blockchain is that now it's transitioning to onboard folks like ourselves. But we're not building a blockchain. We're not building, protocols. We're not doing what you guys are doing. All we're doing is bringing our supply chain management, our logistics, our designers, our community, and the whole business, and just migrating it, pivoting it to the blockchain. And I'm so excited to work with folks like yourself because really, we need a lot of help. We do not want to sit there thinking about protocol. We do not want to sit there thinking about security. We just want to be thinking about sketches and designs and leather and sourcing knitwear and what the price of commodities is, and how do we get to market very quickly. And so the future of the blockchain is one where we all collaborate and we all do things that we're all good at in a different way. And already, Mr. Key, Karnika has helped me, like on some more, like the most basic things, be it in marketing or security or wallet management, that, folks like myself that have never really been on Web3 didn't really know. It is a different world out there.
I think the most important part here is this. We don't need more and more blockchain tech. We do have sufficient blockchain technology out there. What we really need is what you're doing, bringing the real world utility onto blockchain, but you're adopting the philosophy of blockchain. You're not just bringing your supply chain. I think that you're undercutting yourself when you say that. You are really bringing the ethos, the philosophy. You're bringing the open design. And when you do that, it kind of changes. The others cannot compete against it. You're making it possible for everyone to be part of that revolution, take part in it, and not just be an onlooker, seeing amazing things happen, but be part of that amazing change themselves. And when the real business with the real revenues, real process comes in, that's when the blockchain comes to life. Otherwise, it's more process, more technology. But then what is the use of tech if it cannot be used to serve the people that the technology is created for?
Agreed.
Yeah, it's 100% right. And I think, Wahid, what you guys are doing at Faith Tribe really sums up the ethos of community and building something. And it's wonderful to hear of a business that's been around so long with an established community or tribe, and the crossover that they can have into this new world that we are, venturing into and putting together. So that's really, really amazing to hear. Can you just tell us a little bit about?
Mitch, just a second. I want to interject here.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I caught when I was speaking is that we have our partner English Forward, who has been there for 20 years, and the faith has been around for 21 years. And that was just interesting, when businesses with real users who have been there for a couple of decades, when they are the ones creating a change, leading a change, what it can do is so much more powerful, because it doesn't just come with that people, team, community, and whatnot, but it also comes with a very innate culture that a brand has built. And it is so strong that it can exhibit that and showcase that and stand for what it truly is, original. I mean, the originality oozes out in every direction around those brands. And that excited me. That's a beautiful connection, which kind of attracted me to what the whole Faith Tribe is into.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, Wahid, you think about it, there's not many businesses that have been around as long as yours with an established track record, a big community, that are certainly not that we come across that are crossing over into this blockchain space. So
yeah, look, yeah. I mean, let me just sort of dovetail into that. So there is no more elitist, snobby, glass ceiling industry than the fashion industry.
Yeah.
It's by very definition not inviting. It's a $3 trillion industry. The entirety of our competition, the guys that profess permissionless open source design, are 100% digital. There's not a single physical brand that is doing what we're doing. And there's a reason for that. Is because Dolce & Gabbana and Gucci are very busy dropping their own NFTs. They don't do open source fashion. And then all the open source studios just do digital assets. They're not ingrained within the factories, supply chain management, logistics, e-commerce. And so the industry that we're looking at, a measly 10 to 15% of the industry is independent designers. So that's like 450 billion. A good third of that is not accessible. It's saris in India. It's traditional clothing in different cultures. But a good 150 to 200 billion are like literally tens of thousands of independent designers that cannot break through. They cannot buy leather, knitwear, belts, buttons at scale. They cannot access credit lines. and so what do? They spend their whole life sending resumes to Yves Saint Laurent and all those brands in the hope of getting an apprenticeship. And then maybe one day they write a sketch. Today in Uber, if you've got a car and you're a willing and able body, you can start working in 24 hours. So the whole concept of open source fashion in both the physical and digital is for us to enable someone in Vietnam or Quebec or Sydney to be able to come to our portal, permissionless, access our studio, and then start ordering on-demand manufacturing and then marketing and sales, and then minting of NFTs, physical and digital. Everything we do is physical and digital. And it's powerful because the only way we could do this, short of us going to Miami, LA, London, and recruiting designers, which we've been doing for 21 years, the only way where you bring thousands and make it permissionless, where the community dictates, is through Web3. So in a way, Web3 sort of evolved to the point where, like I said, we were at the right place at the right time. People found our open source fashion cute for the last 21 years, but it was just cute. It wasn't a business model. Now it's a real business model.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So tell me, how do you plan to support both digital and physical design simultaneously?
So very simple. If you go to, everything. So I'm putting out a press release in the next, I would say, day, where, because people challenge me, they say, we want utility now. We don't want to wait. Everything we wrote in the white paper, we do today. Independent designers, it's under the Faith Connection brand, but now we can enable people to do their own. The manufacturing, the sales, etc. We did a Paris Fashion Week. I sent you the videos. I sent you the pictures. And then we did the closing event, the most epic party for all of Fashion Week on Sunday night with our brand ambassador and DJ Blondish, who's like the DJ for Burning Man. Okay. Decentraland in 3 weeks is repeating the whole thing. So doing the fashion show plus the closing party, sponsored by Faith Connection with Blondish. And so it's not just, if you go to our website and you see our NFTs, they're physical products. So our jackets have a code, an NFC code tag, where you scan it and it links to your digital asset, but it's also physical. And believe it or not, the whole industry is moving in that direction to fight counterfeit. It's actually a very big thing. NFTs are being used in fashion for counterfeit reasons. But to answer your question, everything we do is digital and physical. The clothes we make, our entry of our new collection that I sent pictures of, welcome to share it with your community. We are producing those digitally. Even our party is physical and digital. So we're very myopic about that. We're very obsessed about that because we believe the future of the metaverse is one where you want to be very relevant in both the physical and the digital realm. And then for us, it's we're agnostic to any platform. It reminds me of my media days when I was at Goldman Sachs doing sell-side research. There was a huge war between distribution and content, and yet all the billions were going to distribution. Cable versus satellite, and now streaming and all that. Yeah. And actually, the winners out of that era was content companies. We're a content company, and I believe that's the way you play the metaverse, by just putting great content physically and digitally, and then you become very relevant.
Yeah, it's actually so interesting. I mean, and tell me, how has your community, your tribe responded so far from the crossover, from the move?
So we learn every day. And so I don't know if our project is gonna be exactly how we see it today because we don't know what we don't know. So I'm flying to Miami in 2 days. We are sponsoring LAPS, which is the Latin American, LAFS. It's basically Latin American Fashion Institute and Show. And basically they bring all the designers from Latin America, independent students with Instituto Marangoni, who's our partner as well. And they and all the brands are there. And so we're their main sponsor this year, and maybe and for the future, where we are onboarding designers. And you want to know the biggest pushback is where I was back in October, September, I was clueless about the blockchain, clueless about Web3. I know we were building this, but I had to learn. And funny enough, a huge amount of my investors love the utility, but are crypto savvy, blockchain savvy. A lot of the artists and designers are not.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I'm putting out a press release saying we're open for business, and you can just email us or submit online your designs, and we'll walk you through the entire food chain ecosystem. I believe we're going to do a lot of that. That gives us time to build the portal in 9 months to 12 months, because my biggest problem is not the technology, which we have. It's not the ecosystem, which we have. It's not the factories, which we have. It's not the supply chain management distribution, which we have. It's how many people show up. We work with dozens, if not 100 designers. How do we work with 1,000? And how do we do it in remote places of the world? So that's exciting. But how do you convince someone who's a designer, who is not necessarily blockchain friendly, who doesn't know how to go and buy FTRB in order to use in the ecosystem? So your question is, what's been the feedback so far? The feedback from the crypto enthusiasts are, wow, this is really cool. The feedback from the designers is, finally someone who cares about me. And yet the barrier between the two, because there's always a barrier, there's always a challenge, is how do I make the people that need the service savvy enough in terms of usage as the people who are very savvy but don't need the service?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense, because, Key and I talk about it all the time. Obviously, on the one side, building something that's technical and what have you is very doable with a budget and the smart people that are developing it. But on the other side, like, you've got your designers that what they're really interested in is designing and selling their designs. Right. They're not interested really in learning about blockchain. And we talk about all the time, how do you create that interface that is so simple for someone that they can adopt it without having to learn anything extra? They can utilize the functionality of the blockchain with the interface that we put together at Forward, so that they are using it without having to learn about using it in a no-code environment. And I think...
Yeah, absolutely. So we, in Miami Art Basel, we did our auctions of our physical and digital NFTs. We used the legitimate marketplace. A lot of the buyers did not have a wallet. We had to get them set up with MetaMask. Buy Ethereum, fund your account, buy Ethereum, convert the Ethereum. So no one's saying this is easy, but by gosh, there's so many projects out there that are white papers, and they stay as white papers for years and years and years.
Yeah, exactly.
This project is ready for utilization right now. Maybe we're early, I don't know. But that's basically it. And we'll take baby steps. I want utility tomorrow. So we are opening for business on Monday, where by the way, you need FTRB tokens to use everything. If you don't have FTRB tokens, or you don't want to buy, you can come to our platform and use FTRB tokens that are staked, except you don't get paid until the stakeholders get paid. So we have a great staking program that isn't just, airdropping tokens. It's literally financing the business of fashion with independent artists.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. And tell me, how does that fit in with the Faith Tribe DAO, and how new designers can actually participate and join and get involved?
I would be lying to you to tell you I figured all that out. I'm happy that the most complicated thing we have already. So the complicated thing is, you want to submit a design. It's damn difficult to have all the relationships, the entire ecosystem, to get you from submission to minting to manufacturing to marketing to sales in weeks. But I'm happy to tell you we can do that. We can do that tomorrow. What I haven't figured out yet, and we're going to need some manpower to go to all the universities and all the fashion institutes, is how do we build sufficient scale? And then the white paper and the future stipulates that the governance structure of the permissionless ecosystem decides what gets produced and what gets marketed. But guess what? the factories and Farfetch and all the great partners that we have are not, they kind of want us to handhold at the beginning. They're like, this whole concept of permissionless. Okay, so I believe we're going to transition for a year. A lot of it will be permissionless, but maybe the design will be permissionless. Maybe on-demand manufacturing, we have to handhold a little bit and work with the designers and say, hey, your design is beautiful, but it'll cost 10,000 to produce, and your best shot is selling it for 2,000. They'll need that coaching. And so it's a transition to making it 100% robotic and permissionless. And we owe it to the community, given our 21 years of experience, to chaperone them as we grow. So I'm shameless about this. Like, if there's any deviation from the white paper, it's that we have an ambition. The white paper is the mission, but we're damn sure going to succeed on the way there. So if that means hand-holding and using the powerful brand of Faith Connection to chaperone the designers through this complicated web, then we'll do it shamelessly, because we're looking for in the interest of our designers.
That's a very not only an interesting perspective, but the honest truth, because that's what happens not only with what you're doing, but with that any direction. We all have an ambition and our mission, but we all have to figure out our path. And when we can openly, transparently admit when we do not know something, and also know where we are heading, knowing that the changes will happen along the way, and there's a lot more that we need to figure out together. I think that's a very, very important part that not only the community, but everyone in the space, in the builders economy should understand as well. Very good job on making it all transparent and open there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think it's amazing because it's
I
wanted to
go ahead.
Wahid, I just wanted to ask you, it's quite interesting you talk about staking and how people can use staking obviously now. So I would imagine that DeFi is going to be a big part of your roadmap in onboarding people and getting investors in and getting your whole product rolled out. How do you see that sort of tying together?
Yeah, so I thought that was complicated. And then one of our investors, CNAPS, the great guys out of Poland, I don't know if you know them, but they're great guys. And they were one of our launch pads, and they invested personally. So they will build a decentralized staking program that's out of the exchanges. And investors can just stake and earn a return. But the return is, we have very high gross margins in fashion. Okay, you have to be really bad to not make money if you're good. Okay, so so that's an oxymoron. In fashion, you produce something, costs you 100 euros, you sell it for 500, 600 euros. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money in between there that you can, you sort of can make money. Okay. And so as investors stake, I found I watched a lot of projects, and they have these staking programs, and like there's one in the exchanges as well. And it's like, so you stake it, and then what do you pay for the staking? Guess what? More tokens. I mean, it's like I don't like it. It's
yeah.
Okay. And so I don't want to say it's Ponzi-ish, but it's just not. Where's the value
creation?
Make sense. Yeah.
You're right.
So here, imagine an artist comes on, and they have the option. Do you want to use the platform for free? Because or do you want to own your business? If you want to own your business from now, then you got to buy the token. You got to fund all the activities with the token. If you want to take a shot, you can use stake token. You only get rewards, however, after the staking gets rewarded. Okay, and we have to be transparent about that. But
yeah,
if we're making this permissionless, there's no way in hell I'm going to accept that there's a barrier to entry, because there's a lot, designers and artists. There's a reason why there's a moniker called starving artist, right? Because,
yeah.
right. It's not an industry. The start in that industry is vicious. It's vicious.
Yeah.
It's very hard slugging. Okay. And a lot of talent, literally, they don't have the money to do that. So we want to make something where investors have the ability to feel like they're funding art creation and the fashion of business, the business of fashion.
That certainly opens it up for a lot of people. I mean, you take that barrier to entry away, and all of a sudden you were talking about having 100 artists and then including 1,000 artists from different places. That makes it accessible. That really gives them the access
so
to the whole.
We work with a lot of artists today, but not in the thousands.
Yeah.
And we know them by name, and we know every single one. We've worked with them for years. That's not what this project is about. That's a relationship we foster. It's a talent that we scout. This is permissionless. This is meeting someone we never even dreamt of meeting because they submitted randomly. And that's beautiful. That's fresh. That's interesting.
So let me jump in here. You have come from outside of the blockchain space with a real business, and you're doing this. I like to see what is your perspective on the future of blockchain integrated in the real economies, not only in fashion, but in any other sector, but primarily focused on real world business and blockchain. What is your perspective around it?
So there's good and there's bad. The good is it's permissionless. Everyone's has a glass half full. Agreements are not 30. My SAFT agreement was 30 pages at the beginning, and everyone was like laughing. It's like max 2 pages, dude. Okay, fine. So we revised that. My lawyers were traditional lawyers, and we had to like bring expertise from the blockchain world because everything we did was traditional PE, traditional business. So ease of doing business, great. Permissionless, great. Positive energy, great. Language barrier breaks in 2 seconds. A lot of fraud, a lot of things that we don't like, but you just have to make sure you're very well connected. What are the negatives? The negatives is short-termism, very short-term. Yeah. VCs, short-term. A VC would tell me they're long-term, and they measure the long-term as 1 year. Like, we'll do a 1-year vest. I'm like, that's not long-term. That's not long-term in my world. That's very short-term. So people want to pop. I think I was telling you this, Keith. People were trying to manufacture a low liquidity at TGE, which I did to make sure the community was happy. They love that. That's not true value creation. And so there is a little bit of a turnoff for real businesses. So originally we were going to raise 5 to 10 million, right? And then we were told, no, you don't do it that way. So I hope the industry gets mature enough and deep-pocketed enough such that the big players can pivot to Web3 and launch their own DAOs, but they cannot. I don't want them to do it with losing credibility. So there's a lot of things that I learned that I didn't like. Again, short-termism, the amounts of money is huge potentially, but what people commit is small. Everyone insists on pops. And I'll give you an example. On the 24th, I sent a video. I think Yuki liked it or commented on it, where I was in my gym clothes and I said, listen guys, we're launching. Tanks were rolling in, start of World War III, and every single person was calling me and saying delay. Why delay? Because you won't get the 10x. At best, you'll get a 2x or 1x. We don't want that. Because then you're known in the history of books as a 2xer. I'm like, what the hell is this language? Right? So there's no value creation there. There's nothing smart about it. But I understand they're very close friends of mine. They cared about me. But then I put out a video and I said, we've been through Corona, existential. We've been through 9/11. We've been through Lehman. We've been through the dot-com bust. I mean, you've been there for 21 years. We've seen it all. And I said, no, we're going to launch. I owe it to the community to launch. Now, we ended up doing a 7x in the first day. Everyone now realizes it was the right decision. It was good because, again, we're a real company. We're a real business. But, I was shocked at the reaction and the need for huge gains instantly. If that's the attitude that we sustain in the blockchain, we will not attract the creme de la creme big companies. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, it makes 100% sense. Kirk, you shared that video, and what you said was spot on. And hats off to you for having the gumption to step forward to actually do it, because it actually, I think it takes that real world mentality to break through, and the experience that you bring to the space will do a lot in creating, forward momentum. Because I think historically, a lot of the players, the investors, etc., as you say, have got a very different mentality to the mentality that's actually out there in the real world. And let's face it, most of the money is not sitting in blockchain and crypto at the moment. It's sitting outside in the real economy. If we want to attract that money inside, we have to do something that will reach out to the people that actually have control of that money and bring them in and make sure that it's on the terms and the conditions that they understand and want to participate in. And when that happens, the industry will really boom and you'll have mass adoption. So, yeah, Well done. It's good.
Thank you.
Really, really good. I know NFTs are going to be like a core building block of the metaverse going forward, etc. How do you see that fitting into your game plan, and not specifically for Faith Tribe, but for the industry as a whole? NFTs playing a role in the metaverse going forward.
Yeah, so two things. So obviously it's real, it's happening. I'm hoping that I'll look in this in 5 years and I won't see in the real world what I see on the metaverse. In the real world, 85% plus is high-end fashion brands. 15% plus, 15% minus is independent designers and artists. But the independent artists and designers are like 1,000x more numbers than the branded. So it's like it's like a huge. Okay, I would love for that not to be on the metaverse. Right now, all the drops of Dolce and Gabbana and Gucci and all this are all the rave. Wow, it would be great for independent brands to flourish. It would be also great for them to grow to levels that they never imagined before Nike buys them, for instance. Okay, that would be nice. Okay, excuse me. Because I kind of want to see. So in the real world, there's barriers to entry, scale, logistics, factories. In the meta, there isn't. So I'll be very disappointed if, despite the lack of barrier to entry, big brands dominate. That would disappoint me. And I'm rooting for the independent. So obviously, Faith Connection is a brand. We'll sell in the metaverse. We're going to sell merch in 2 weeks in Decentraland. But to me, I'm hoping the metaverse does the 85-15% opposite.
Yeah, I think you are right in saying that. It's funny, I was thinking back to a couple of years ago, 2017, 2018, everybody spoke about like complete decentralization. And then now we're trying to find ways where we can attract companies in so they are compliant, whether they are coming into DeFi or whatever it is, the big finance houses, the VCs. They need a different route in because obviously compliance holds them back. And in fashion, and obviously the big brands that dominate now, obviously they're going to want to be coming in and grabbing market share, etc. What sort of guidelines and things do you think would be worthwhile for the industry to have so that they don't end up dominating, like you just said? I mean,
it's worse than you can imagine because because everyone's buying land and real estate, right?
Yeah.
I have a secret for you. Brands get them for free.
It's like the anchor store.
Yeah, right. But on the metaverse, we get them for free. We get a presence. So it's just, I get it. And I've always said this, metaverse is going to be relevant if it's related to the real world. So I don't want to contradict myself, right? But again, think about that designer who wants to sell her or his clothing and garments. And they go in the metaverse to sell. I mean, they got to slug it out. And yet, Louis Vuitton will have the best real estate on the corner that they don't pay for. In many respects, they get paid to be there. So it's like, geez, it's a tough world out there. So you asked me a tricky question. I'm already seeing the layups. I'm already seeing the big brands getting all these access points and free things, and then selling. You know what it's like to sell a jacket has a 70% gross margin. Okay, on the metaverse it has a 99% gross margin.
Wow.
Right,
Wow.
right, because it doesn't exist. It's virtual. It's like, okay, so gosh, if the metaverse makes the big guys bigger, that would be disappointing. And so far I'm seeing the signs like it is going that direction. And I'm not Robin Hood here. I'm not trying to, I'm not arrogant enough to say I'm Robin Hood, but I sure hell would like to fight for the little guy. Yeah.
Well, that's what all the whole blockchain is all about, right? To bring in that ability, quality, and fighting for.
Right.
I wouldn't say just fighting for the small guy, but bringing that opportunity to the doorstep of every human, no matter what they have and what they don't.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
So, I just want to ask, what is the reaction of other fashion brands when you launch this? Because you have your ties, connections, and etc. with other brands out there because of the decades of your existence. So, how did others react? Did they see it as a threat? Did they see it as an opportunity? Or did they, what happened? Like or dislike?
So, so many brands say we would never, what Faith does is cute. It's different. It's streetwear. It's, no brand brings independent designers to their design studio. They don't do that. So for them, I don't think they felt threatened. I think everyone watched us get a market cap and raise money. There are other fashion brands that I own. I own some fashion brands that called me and said, we'd like to tokenize. Like, holy crap. And I said, tokenization for the sake of raising money, that's not what you do. To tokenize, you actually have to have a store. You have to have a platform. You have to have something permissionless. Going from designing your own clothes to just having a token so people can buy your clothes with a token so that you can just raise money, that's probably not what this is all about. So a lot of people viewed it with intrigue because they felt it was easy. It was not easy. It was really not easy, but they think it's easy. They think, you just go grab some money from thin air, which is not the case, but that's what they think. And a lot of people say, okay, that's not really what we do. It's permissionless. It's open source. We're happy selling an NFT for 25 grand. We're happy dropping a leather bag NFT for 100 grand. I mean, there are numbers like that, right? So, so that's that. And then, of course, tons of digital competitors. To see someone from the real world do a digital open source studio and link it up with logistics and all this, I think they found that intriguing. But then we could work with them as well. So we work with these design studios, and we could work with more of them. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's sort of mixed reaction. People think it's a pot of gold. It's not. And then at the same time, people think, it's not what they do. They're making plenty of money doing it on their own way.
That makes sense. So how do you see the trends take up of, let's say, 5 years from now? How do you see the world of fashion in blockchain? What's your vision of that? Considering all the challenges that you outlined or positively turning out,
a very different answer. I'm going to give you a very different answer, something I have not said. There's another trend happening in fashion that we did not discuss. The millennials, Gen Z, they don't wear what my generation wore. First of all, none of them wear suits. So the suit business is dead, right? I mean, it's not. I mean, COVID kind of killed that, maybe permanently. And you can't NFT a suit with a tie. Like, who gives a shit, right? I mean, excuse my language, but right, it's not conducive to NFT. So, but there's some. I'm not going to name the names, but there's some iconic brands that are very stoic and are not in keeping with the younger generation. And the younger generation want a digital footprint and a physical footprint, and they want individualization and they want customization. So we're very big on that theme. And so one of the future things that I think is that people are just bored of the stuffy, old, elitist kind of thing. They want our kids, I mean, I don't know if you guys have kids, but our kids do things very differently to the way we do. Okay.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so the future of fashion is being disrupted. And the high street is dead. E-commerce has destroyed it. It's like banks. I mean, they're getting destroyed by fintech and all that. So there's all this challenge and disintermediation. The metaverse was a very big threat, but my gosh, in the last 3 to 4 months, did the big brands pivot, and they pivoted big, and now they're borderline dominating. So I think they'll do a good job with the metaverse.
That's actually really, yeah, really interesting. Well, it's been amazing chatting to you, Wahid. I think in wrapping up, maybe if you could take a couple of minutes and just give us your closing thoughts, and then I'll ask Key to do the same, and then we'll call it an evening. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been an honor. You guys have taught me so much. We are quite clumsy. We're learning. We have a lot of bad old habits. So my point is, my closing remarks is keep doing what you're doing, investing and partnering with projects like ours, because if you have the right attitude. It's like we have enough protocols and technology. We need more real life utility usage. And one thing which I care about is, and I always say this, people say, what do you want out of these podcasts? Do you want investors or whatever? And I say, no. The best thing you can do is just encourage all your friends. All of us have designer friends. They're actually usually the coolest people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And invite them to this, right? Because this has never existed before. It's hard for someone sitting, somewhere remote to be able to produce something in Italy with real leather and selling on e-commerce sites and on the metaverse in a scaled way with the power. Okay. That is very, very cool. And so the more we spread the word, the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Key?
That's great. Yes. So I'm very, very happy today with this conversation, because it's not every day we meet and speak with someone who has that real world experience and the perspective on getting things to blockchain and working in the world of blockchain with the true business backing in place. Because true businesses scale, and they scale with every step in the right direction. And I'm very, 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 very excited about it. And most importantly, I think we need more people in the same direction to bring that momentum. I already can see that people's expectation in the blockchain world is getting adjusted to what it is, or what it has to be. It's happening slowly over a period of time. And I personally believe that blockchain as an industry is a very self-sustaining one. And maybe it takes a little longer time, but as more people adopt, the balancing will happen, and we will come to a point in time when real businesses always find this as the most ideal route for them to do anything on. And I hope that we get there sooner than later. And once again, the business, the fundamentals, focusing on what matters, users, revenue, and the real impact, not doing something for the sake of doing it, but doing it because there's a need to do it. And that makes a whole lot difference between a brand which is famous and disappears in 3 months or a year versus a brand which lives for 20 years. Making something live for 20 years comes with a million hard, impossible choices that haunt when you sleep, when you cannot
Absolutely.
decide on them in a matter of a minute. You cannot just make, okay, let's do it. You wing it. You cannot do that. You have implications. You have people that depend on you. You have businesses and processes, partners who are all real, and there is an implication on every one of them when a choice is made. And those hard choices are the building blocks. Those hard choices are what kind of represents the value systems that we hold. It's very easy to make a choice when there's nothing in stake, but when you have values, history, reputation, and then you make those choices in those circumstances when everyone might be against it, everyone might be looking at it in a different perspective, but you are the one that has to stand behind what the brand values are.
Sure.
I have been there. I have been there.
I'll add one last thing, because there was one pushback. They say, hey, this is a camouflage way for Faith Connection to sell clothes, using independent designers. So we did something super cool. So as never to use a big brand to compete with independents. Every piece of clothing that we as a brand, Faith Connection, sells, all those tokens are burned. Okay.
Wow.
And so we have a deflationary effect on supply, so that the mothership native brand is always a coaching brand. It's always an inspirational brand, but not a brand that competes with our independent designers. Okay. Because the independent designers can root for us because they hold our currency, they hold our token, and there will be a deflationary effect in supply. And we're doing this really, people say, that's suicidal to your brand. Like, why would you do that? Like, you're basically burning for tokens for, you cost you money to make those clothes. But because we believe this is much bigger, if we can get 1% share of this 450 billion industry, that's a 4.5 billion opportunity. That is much bigger than Faith Connection. Okay. And that's what we care about.
Yeah.
Long term, it all makes sense. That's
Yeah.
epic. Great job on that.
Absolutely. And
Thank you,
Wahid,
guys. I'm gonna have to help.
yeah, thanks so much for being here. Really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Lovely chatting to you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks
you too.
again.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.